So I think Google's racetrack game is boring, so I'm going to make my own version of it, and this is the tutorial for how to do it. So the game is going to look something like this. I want to make a 2-player racing game. So it's going to have like a sort of, not a maze, but a course. So maybe something like this, where we have 2 players, and they're both trying to get to the end. And we're going to have something like this. So here's our finish line. And we have like player 1 here and player 2 here. And they're going to go through this course. And on the course, I want there to be like little power-ups that can make them go slower or faster. For instance, there might be like obstacles here. Like maybe if you get into the grass, it slows you down a little bit. Maybe that's what'll be out here. It'll be all grass, sort of like a Mario Kart game. But then there's also like power-ups. There's things that speed you up. So if you run into if you're on the blue, for instance, you go faster. Anyways, that's the basic idea I have for my game. And this is obviously a very beautiful sketch to illustrate it. Let's go ahead and make it. As always, the first thing we're going to do here is create a new project. And I'm going to call this project Good Racing Game. Just throwing shade all over the place at Google CS first. And the first thing I'm actually going to do, I think, is design my track, because a lot of this code is going to revolve around the colors on the track and what we can and can't touch. So for this background, I'm going to draw my own. And I think the first thing I want to do is I want to make a nice like green for the grass, because that's what most of the course is going to be. Now, you'll notice it won't let me, when I'm on the vector mode, it won't let me click anything. You have to convert this over to a bitmap for it to let you draw on it. There we go. And now let's make our racetrack. So our racetrack should probably be like a light gray. Let's see if I can find that. There we go. That's an absolutely inspired course. I love it. Now, the cat is not going to be one of our objects, so I'm going to delete him. We're going to go ahead and add our own. Well, I was going to find a car, but now I'm looking through here, and I think I want a chicken to be my first racing character. So the chick is going to have, got to be a little smaller. We'll make him like 50. Maybe even a little smaller than that, like 30 maybe. It's got to be pretty small. There we go. There's our chicken. And then I'll add the other character in a little bit. We'll just start with the chicken. Now, since we're going to have 2 separate characters, we're going to have one of the characters controlled by WASD and one of the characters controlled by the arrow keys. We'll make our chicken controlled by WASD. So we'll go over here and we'll do our normal thing for movement. When we press the key W, we will move forward, which is change Y by 10, because forward means up in this case. So now we press W, we move the chicken up, and we want to make that much slower. I'm going to make that like 2. That's better. And then I'm going to duplicate that, and we're going to change this to S to make him go down. So that's -2. And then we also need the other 2, A and D. So this one will be A to make him go left, and we also need D to make him go right. Left and right we control with changing X by, so we'll change X by -2 to make him go left. And we'll change X by +2 to make them go right. And now we have controls for our chick, but they're a little weird. You'll notice you have to like hold it down for a minute to get him to actually move. I don't really like that. I'd like it to be really smooth motion. So we're going to fix that by using a RepeatUntil. So what we're going to do is go into the control here and grab the RepeatUntil block. And we're going to put the changing motion inside of the RepeatUntil. And what we're going to do is we're going to repeat moving 2 steps until we are no longer pressing the W key. So when we press the W key, we'll start moving by 2 steps constantly, and then as soon as we let go of it, it'll immediately stop the motion, which is going to make this look a lot smoother. So we're going to go ahead and go into operators here and grab the one called not. So repeat until not, and we want to repeat until we are not touching the key W. So we're going to find this here, key pressed, and we're going to find W. So repeat until key not pressed W, change Y by 2. So now if I do W, it happens really smoothly if you watch it. That's very smooth motion. I like that, as opposed to these. We're going to do the same thing for the rest of these. You can go ahead and copy them. Don't forget to change these. Right now they're all W. Remember, we got to change this one to S and the other ones to A and D. And there, now we have really nice smooth movement. I like that a lot better. Now, the main part of this game is going to be that you're going to try to be on all the power-ups so that you move faster, and you're going to try to not be on the grass because the grass is going to make you move slower. Now, there's actually a lot of different ways we could do this, but the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to have it all controlled in these movement keys here. the way I'm going to make the character slow down is I'm going to grab an if-else statement here. And in this if-else statement, I'm going to check if we are touching the color of green. If we are touching the color green. And I'm going to say, if we are touching the color green, then we want to change y by 1 instead of by 2. If we aren't touching the color green, if this else is what's happening, then we'll change y by 2 because that means we're on the racetrack. And then we go ahead and grab this if statement and drag it in here. So now you'll notice I start moving a lot slower as soon as I touch the green when I'm moving up and down here. Now we need to add this into the rest of our code. So I'll go ahead and duplicate this and trade out all these y's for x's. These should be x's now. And same thing here. Except it's -1 and 1. No, -1 and -2, sorry. And same thing here. Except -1 and -2. Now when I start my game and I play it, whenever I did something backwards. That's the wrong keys. A should be negative. This should be -1, and this should be -2. This should be +1. This should be +2. There we go. That's a lot better. So now you'll notice when I'm on the concrete, I'm moving a lot faster. As soon as I go into the grass, I start moving very slowly. I also wanted to add portions of the racetrack that were faster than others, like when you're touching white, you go faster. So I'm going to just go ahead and add those to the backdrop. If I click on the stage and go to backdrops, I'll make my brush much smaller, like 10, and we'll choose a new color. So we'll use this blue color here, and we'll say whenever you're on this blue color, you're going to go way faster. So we'll have some of it here, we'll have a few of them here, and we'll have a couple of them over here. Now in the code here, we're going to do something very similar to what we did with our touching color green. We're going to add in another if-else to check if we're touching this blue. So to do that, you're going to go over to controls, and again, we're going to grab an if-else, but this time we're going to put it down here. We're going to put it inside of this other else statement. And this one is going to say something like this. We're going to say, if we are touching the color blue, right there, then we want to go extra fast. We want to go maybe 3 or something. If we're not, otherwise, we want to go 2 because that means we're touching gray. So first we check if we're touching green. If we are touching green, we only go 1. Otherwise, if we're not touching green, we go over into this if statement. We say, well, if we're not touching green, are we touching blue? And if we are touching blue, then we speed it up to 3. And if we aren't touching blue, it means we're on the gray, and we speed it up by 2, just the normal speed instead of 1 or 3. Now I'm going to do that same thing for the rest of these. So I'm going to duplicate this, get rid of this -2, and put this in here. You might need to slow this down a little bit. I'm being kind of fast, I know. And then we need this to be faster, so -3, and then normal is -2, which is right. And then same thing for this one. We're going to duplicate this, get rid of what we have in the else, replace it with this. The color we're looking for is the blue color. And then if we are touching the blue color, we want it to be by 3, and otherwise by 2. And then same thing here. We duplicate this, get rid of this, put it in the else statement. And if we're touching the color blue, we want to go to 3, otherwise we're going to do 2. Now if I run my game, I'm going normal here. When I'm on green, I'm slow. When I'm touching blue, though, I go really fast. If you notice that, he's much faster when he's touching the blue. That's a pretty cool game. I also need a way to win the game. That would be nice. So let's go ahead and add another sprite, and we'll make a finish line here. Here we go. I got a green flag. That'll work. So we'll put a green flag here over at the... Actually, green is a terrible color. Let's make it a different color. Let's make it black. There we go. Now for our flag, what we're going to do is we're going to say this. When we click start, we're going to forever start checking if the chick is touching us. So forever, we're going to say if the chicken is touching us, so in sensing, if touching chick, then we want it to say the chick won. And if we start that and test it real quick, there you go, it says the chick won. But it could be something else too, right? We're going to have another player here. So let's go ahead and duplicate our object here. We don't actually want this to be 2 different chickens. That'd be kind of ridiculous. So let's go ahead and find another sprite. You can go, instead of clicking here, you can always go into costumes and choose to add another costume. So we'll get rid of all of our chick costumes and we'll find a different one. Oh, here, perfect. Let's go with the egg, the running egg. All right. Sure, why not? We're going to set them both over here to the starting point. And we also want, every time the game starts, we want them to reset to that position. So I'm going to go ahead and go to motion and grab the go to. And just right when we click start, I'm going to add in a when click start. We want them to go back to where they are now. Same thing for the egg. When we click start, we want to go to the starting position. So now if I drag them somewhere else, but then I click start, it'll send them back there. Perfect. So if we're touching the chick, we're going to say we won. We're going to say that the chick won forever. But now there's another option too. We could also be touching the, not chick 2, let's call him the egg. Now we could be touching the egg. And if we're touching the egg, we're going to say the egg won. And we're going to say it forever. So what's happening in this code, if we're going to make these 2 checks. We're going to first check if we're touching the chick. If we're not touching the chick, we're going to check if we're touching the egg. If we are touching the chick, it'll start forever saying the chick won. And if we are touching the egg, it'll say forever the egg won. And because it's doing it forever, whoever gets there first, it will only ever say that they won. So I'll show you what I mean by this. We'll start our game real quick, and we'll have them both do their race. Oh, there is a bit of a problem. W, A, S, and D control both of them. We need the egg to be controlled by the arrow keys. So this is going to be up arrow. This is going to be left arrow. This is going to be down arrow. And this is going to be right arrow. There we go. Now if we restart our game, and I have them both go in this grand race. Oh, it's hard to control 2 players at once. This is hard. All right, so we're going to see one of them is going to win. So the egg got there first, and so now it won't say that the chick won because the egg got there first. But if we did it the other way, and the chick did get there first, then it would only say the chick won, and it would never say that the egg won. So there you go. There's a simple racing game. You could add a lot onto this. I would encourage you to add more stages, make it more complex. You could have different types of power-ups. Maybe some slow you down, maybe some take away lives. You could do all sorts of fun stuff with this. I would also definitely go ahead and add sounds for when you finish the race and when the game starts and all sorts of stuff. You have a countdown. Lots of cool stuff you could do with this. I'm going to call that good for now. I hope you guys enjoyed making this game, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.